Welcome everyone to ThursdAI for June 12th. This is Alex Volkov, your host for today. I'm an AI evangelist with weights and biases. And we are about to start.
Oh, what do we have this week? Zach acquiring a new task force, a new best model ever from OpenAI, some open source from Mistral.
It was crazy.
Last week was AI engineer. Still,
Yep. Did you know, folks who weren't tuned into us last week, we covered AI Engineer, the premier AI Engineering conference with 3,000 speakers. Actually, I'm wearing their t-shirt right now. Yam and I were there in person, and we covered this. So, folks who were tuned into the show, we did a live show, and Swix, the organizer, joined us. And then at some point, Swix turns to me and was like, "Hey, Alex, we're gonna interview Logan Kilpatrick and Jack Ray from Google. They just gave a keynote on the second day, and they're coming up." I was like, "Okay, amazing." Yam, did you know at that point that Jack is one of the new super intelligence people that Zach hired? Did you know?
really,
Yep.
I had no idea. I had no
Sure.
idea.
So
Whoa.
shout out to Jack. So actually, we interviewed one of the new super intelligence folks at Meta. Now we're going to talk about this, folks. We're going to talk about Zach going all in and buying 49% of Scale AI, including placing Alex Wang as one of the top people at AI at Meta, which is effectively buying Scale AI without the regulatory stuff. So we're going to talk about what Scale AI does. I think it's time for TLDR. I think folks like to join the show and immediately know everything that happened. So we will do the TLDR. Let's go. First things first. Today on the show, your host is Alex Volkov, AI evangelist with Weights and Biases, and my co-host today is Yam. I think we'll have Wolfram join us as well. We have two guests on the show: Stefania Druga, who is a friend of the pod. She's an independent researcher, former researcher at Google DeepMind as well, and we will have Eric Provencher, who's building RepoPrompt, to talk to us about o3-pro, his favorite thing. So stay tuned for those incredible guests. Open source LLMs are where we're going to start. There's a few updates there. Mistral, the French LLM company, the champagne of LLMs, let's say. Mistral released Magistral, which is a 24 billion parameter reasoning model. They actually released Magistral Medium and Small. Small is open source, Medium is just in their API, and we're going to chat about this. I think Wolfram actually had the chance to test it out a little bit. Then there's a small mention. Hugging Face released something called ScreenSuit, a comprehensive agent evaluation framework for GUI agents, which is pretty cool. An interesting thing that I just added today, Sakana AI. We covered Sakana AI, Japan's one of the top leading companies in Japan for LLMs. There is something called text to LoRa, near instant task specific LLM adaptations, LoRa adaptations. So basically fine tuning on the fly an LLM for the task at hand. We'll definitely discuss this. I'm really interested in some of this research. And then this is in open source. We're going to move quickly to big companies and APIs and LLMs, specifically because this week it was an incredible week in huge models. OpenAI did two things. They're just like jaw dropping two things. We'll start with the first one. OpenAI drops the price of one of the premier intelligences out there, o3 from OpenAI, by 90%. o3 came out 4 months ago, 4-ish months ago, and the price drop is just absolutely ridiculous. Okay, in April, o3 came out, significantly outperforming o1 with $40, and now o3 outputs are $8. So from $60 to $8 in less than a year. I don't know how OpenAI does this. I don't know that the people said, this is pruning, this is distillation, this is quantization. They confirmed that this is the same exact model. The price of intelligence truly goes to too cheap to meter. Now, OpenAI also said, hey, while you enjoy this very, very cheap intelligence, how about enjoying very expensive, very top tier intelligence? And they launched o3-pro for Pro accounts. I believe team accounts have a little bit of access as well. OpenAI launched o3-pro, their highest intelligence available model or consortium of models. o3-pro is now available on the Pro tier and in the API, and the API is cheaper than the previous o1-pro API as well. It looks like someone in OpenAI got a shipment of those H200s because otherwise I cannot explain. And it's like price improvements. Then we're gonna go to the most insane news of this week for sure, organizationally and maybe even geopolitically, folks. Meta buys out 49% of ScaleAI. ScaleAI is a company many people don't know. We follow AI. We have to know ScaleAI is a huge company. Their CEO Alexander Wang is, I think, the youngest self-made billionaire and like the quickest one. It's crazy. They work with every company out there, every LLM company, to help them with human annotated data and human creation data and human in the loop evaluation and multiple things like this. They provide basically data to many companies: Google, Anthropic, OpenAI, Microsoft, NVIDIA. Literally everyone who builds an LLM needs human annotated data. ScaleAI is basically the de facto solution, okay? Meta buys 49%, including placing Alex Wang, the CEO, on top of Meta's new super intelligence team. This means a lot, and we're going to dive into this very interesting discussion. Do not miss this discussion. Absolutely. Apple also had a thing. Ta-da! Apple had WWDC. Remember last year, folks, we covered WWDC. We said, yo, Apple Intelligence was just announced, and it's going to be amazing. And Apple basically came out in the beginning of their WWDC, their developer conference, and said, hey, we know you were waiting for a smart Siri. She's not coming today. We don't know when she's going to come. But hey, we're going to give you a new UI that's liquid glass that looks super cool. I was disappointed. They did update their own device models. They gave us an API to these models, so developers in Swift can actually access the models on device directly. And Apple also this week dropped a reasoning paper called Reasoning and Illusion. This paper went around and folks have looked at it and some debunked it. It's a very interesting paper that plays the Tower of Hanoi and does multiple things to reasoning. We'll definitely discuss this. In this week's Buzz, a category of ThursdAI, where I talk about everything weights and biases related. Our premium conference, Fully Connected, is in a week. Folks, next week, June 18th, June 19th, in San Francisco, Fully Connected. You have still a chance to attend. We would love to see you there. We have incredible lineup of speakers, and you'd be able to chat with our team about everything that you like about weights and biases, about Weave, and multiple things like this. Also this week, you guys know Hamel Hussein. He has a course about evaluation. I went as a guest speaker on this course. I talked about LRMs versus LLMs as judges. LRMs are, of course, large reasoning models, and I have a YouTube video recording of that. Would love to share it with you. I did a lot of meta research. Vision video is also hitting up the category that we're going to talk about after this week's Buzz. Veo 3 launched a fast version, which is 2x faster and 80% cheaper. Veo is Google DeepMind's premier video generation model, the one that was taking the airwaves recently with multiple folks just like absolutely not believing their eyes. Midjourney is featured twice in their news. Once because they're about to launch a video product. Twice because Hollywood, Universal, and Disney are suing Midjourney for outputs that look like Disney outputs. Specifically citing a few doomer non-friends of ours, Gary Marcus and Reed Stahl, because they went and snitched. And so I don't like it. But yeah, we're going to see how this lawsuit ends because this threatens the copyright as we know it. So very interesting. And Topaz, a company called Topaz, launches Astra, a upscaler for video, voice and audio. OpenAI launched a new advanced voice mode. Some people like it. Some people do not like it at all. I don't like it. We'll figure this out. Then we also have Cartesia releases Ink Whisper. They rebuilt Whisper almost from the ground up, optimizing for real-time chat. Almost there, folks. TLDR is almost ending. It's a big news week, so you're getting all of the news together. AI, art, and diffusion. Disney and Universal, as I said, so in Midjourney, our friends from Crea released their own trained model called Crea 1, trying to remove the AI-ness look from AI-generated images. In AI tools, I have two tools to tell you about. None of them are sponsored. Utori launches Scouts, and I've seen multiple folks, including very big prominent folks in AI, talk about Scouts. It's very interesting. Those are AI agents that monitor the web for you for any topic. Another one, and I think the last one, this is the last topic in TLDR, browser company finally launches Dia, their AI native browser. And I've been using this a little bit, and it's in beta, and it's pretty cool. I like AI native browsing. I used it to prepare for the show, and I will tell you all about it. Folks, this is the TLDR. Welcome, DJ. Welcome, Nistan, who came in while the TLDR. Folks, how are you today? Anything else that I didn't pick up? I think I did a fairly good job with this. Finally, I'm not traveling, so I had some time to actually see what happened. Open source AI, let's get it started. And we're going to start with open source AI. Straight up, I think we have to talk about Mistral Magistral. Mistral, the French company that, the champagne of LLMs, we like to call them. We've been following them for a while, have released their first reasoning model. I believe it's their first. They called it Magistral. Naming is incredible. Everything Mistral releases, the naming is top notch. Mistral MOEs were like Mixtral was mixture of experts. Mistral, they're like their name like Bigstral, Codestral. They have the naming locked down. Though what they don't have locked down is the ability to look at state-of-the-art research, add this to their releases, unfortunately, and say, hey, here's where we are, and here's like where Quen is, or DeepSeek R1, which is unfortunate. But hey, it's been that's how the French folks are, and it's fine. Still, they're releasing great models. Maybe not like state-of-the-art models, but definitely when we have Wolfram, he's going to join us in a second. There's a whole point of Mistral, which is being Europe first and Euro focused and doing things according to the GDPR stuff and like the different restrictions. Folks, what do you think? Yam, have you taken a look at this release, or what's your thoughts? LDJ as well. Nistan, if you fix your AGI microphone, feel free to chime in.
Reasoning models, we don't have a lot of them. It was exciting, but a little bit disappointing, I must say, in terms of actual performance when you try it. What do you guys think?
I tried it on one question exactly.
Dude, I have it controlling Claude Code in full orchestration mode. It's really horrible, guys. Do not use it. Just don't use it at all. I don't even want to tell people about it. But the thing is that if we're gonna just test it for random stuff, at first I was like that too. Yeah, it's a lot better than you think it is. I was able to hack in the vision layers from Pixtral. It somehow just picked it up. I might release something. I might release something.
Just like that? No.
Yeah. It just picked it because it's trained off of the same base.
Oh, okay.
First of all, you said do not use it. It's horrible. Now you're saying it's dope. Was that sarcasm I detected?
It's almost at the point where I don't want to tell people about it.
Oh, don't use it. But why? It's running on your device, no? Or are you using Medium?
No, I'm not using Medium. I'm using Small.
Small.
Dude, Small is a lot more useful than it seems. I'm just going to put it that. I do think it is like the best 24B, maybe even better than the 32Bs. Like in that class of models, it is the state of the art right now, in my opinion. Now, for one or two questions here and there, it's okay. But when I could dump in a whole code base, and it's still pretty fast, even though I was running it in 8-bit. And it actually did a pretty good job, even compared to Opus. Obviously, cannot execute on that to rewrite. I'm using it a lot.
You're giving reviews all over the place. Is it good like Opus?
It's a tool. No, I was saying horrible because I don't want other people to use it because I want to use it myself.
So interestingly, Dylan Patel from Semi-Analysis went and also did some cynic takes and said because Mistral is beholden to the expert controls, they weren't able to test against Quen, and I tested it for them. It was really funny because, as always, Mistral does not bring Quen into the equation. Here is the comparison for Quen. AIME 25 and 24, DeepSeek R1 taking the lead there, and then Magistral Medium is lower than even Quen, 4 billion parameters. So on specific like math things, I'll say again, the Magistral Medium one is underperforming Quen 3, 4 billion parameters, which can just run on your device. But as always, we say that vibes are mattering a lot, and evals don't tell the full story. The way it performs on a math task on AIME does not necessarily mean that you cannot use this model, and there's definitely things you can do. It outperforms on live code bench. It barely scratches the Quen 30B with 3 billion active parameters. Mistral, LDJ, have you seen this? Maybe Mistral is launching cloud, and Jensen, I think, talked about it.
So for Mistral Compute, I think it's called, it seems like a service where enterprises can train models for them and run models on maybe local clouds and things like that, but more of like a bespoke service for enterprises.
Yeah, Europe focused specifically, and I heard that infrastructure in Europe is not as great, and the big clouds are there.
Yeah, I think they've partnered with Grok with a Q. because that's how they were getting over 1,000 tokens per second on some.
On their let chat, right?
Yeah. Also on their agentic offering things. There is something there. There's a reason even a lot of the tools like OpenWebUI have the Mistral OCR, the document OCR, as like one of the very few options in there. Well, it might not do that well on the benchmarks and stuff. When you put it in the workflow, I find this a pretty reliable tool in that regard. Coin as well, but I don't know. This just hits the small one, just hits the sweet spot for me. If you put this as a tool and it is a reliable tool, and you know how well it does when it does like a document OCR, and then they also pair this with 1,000 tokens per second, you've got a pretty solid business offering in there, and you're also compliant with everything, and nobody complains. Yeah, it's one thing to just look at the benchmarks and stuff. It's a whole other thing to turn this into a product. All models are pretty good now compared to about a year ago as well. Like, considering what we were working with 1 or 2 years ago, like these are fantastic as models.
I want to move on to ScaleAI text to LoRa. Folks, you've seen this. This seems very interesting to me. ScaleAI is a company in Japan, was co-founded by one of the Transformer paper authors. They have released multiple things, including evolutionary algorithms, but now they're releasing text to LoRa. LoRa stands for low rank adaptation methodology, first adapted from diffusion models in images, where you want to train a diffusion model on your face, for example, and then also kind of like made its way to large language models for specific task things. So you could train a LoRa instead of retrain the whole transformer. And they have released a text to LoRa, which is a adapting large language model to a new task using only textual task descriptions, requiring no task specific data. So basically, instead of training or fine-tuning the model with data, with like, here's how the task looks, you would just describe the description of the task that you want. Like, be better at math, and then the model trains itself. Am I understanding this correctly? This is what they launched? This seems crazy.
Look, the idea about LoRa is it allows you to use less compute for the same tasks. It's not the same one-to-one to training the entire model, but basically it unlocks training larger models for a small amount of compute. Basically, you need examples. Those models learn from examples, from experience. You throw them a bunch of solved tasks, and they proceed to be able to solve similar tasks. But collecting data is hard. Just like you said, if you could somehow describe your task instead of providing actual examples of solved instructions, it would be great. It would be amazing, because just like you said, you could just prompt, hey, I need you to be good at this and that and that. And then on its own, it at the same time generates solved examples and then trains on them, basically. Although it sounds simple, because you can just generate examples based on text, doing this robustly for any given task is hard, because I can come up with anything I want. And you should be able to also to generate the data and then train on the data, and it needs to be robust. It is hard, but it is very, very hard, basically. And we're at a point where we can prompt the model, okay, be better.
It's literally this, right? Like, but I think important to highlight, and listen, chime in after this, please. It's not prompting what they're doing. They're actually training the model to be better, like doing some changes stuff. The model like comes up with how on its own, and they show achieved accuracy of 67%, surpassing both standard and multitask LoRa baselines. So text to LoRa on Mistral 7B improves the model. Essentially, what this gets us is building a customized model on almost every query. So you would ask it for a thing, and the model will improve itself for that like specific thing. I think it's super cool. Nissan, thoughts?
People are already doing this, and I think it might become a much bigger deal. It's just that right now, Opus and stuff got too good, so all of this stuff is getting buried. But I think this might be a much bigger deal than most realize, because this completely changes the game. So it might take 6 months to a year for this kind of stuff to become more a thing, because now the model is actually learning, is actually changing its own weights, and this is a big deal.
On the fly weight changing specifically for a task. The task is defined by text and not by examples.
Revolutionary.
This is dope.
Yeah, we're just like getting the first glimpses of it, but yeah.
So shout out to ScaleAI, folks. The code is on GitHub. They support models like, I believe, Gemini and Gemma. They support Gemma 2 billion parameters and Llama 3.1 8 billion. They're doing this on smaller models, obviously, for that speed, but still improving performance on the smaller models at this rate is quite significant. They say on Llama 3.1 8 billion parameters, text to LoRa reaches a 77% average, outperforming all compared models. This is crazy. It's absolutely crazy. All right, folks, I think this is mostly it in open source. We have to move on because we have a big show. Wolfram, welcome as well.
Hey.
Haven't seen you in a while. How are you, man?
Far too long. Nice to see you again.
We covered Mistral and Magistral. Would love to catch up with you after this. We already passed, and then we just covered the text to LoRa. And we have a friend of the pod, Steph. I think you've been there before, folks. Welcome, Stefania Druga, to the show. Former researcher at DeepMind, and now independent. Correct?
That's right.
Yes, awesome. And we'll chat with Steph about the stuff, the work she does, and also maybe some AI engineer specific things, like education-wise. Folks, now we're moving to big companies and APIs. I think we're done with open source because we have to talk about huge things. I think the number one that we're going to cover is OpenAI's releases. I was debating what was the bigger piece of news this week in the big companies, whether or not this is Meta creating a super intelligence team and buying ScaleAI or OpenAI, but biased towards LLMs and releases and things that you can use. And this is why I decided that OpenAI's o3-pro and the price of o3 dropping by 90% is what we need to talk about. All right, folks, welcome to the stage, Eric. I invited Eric specifically to talk about o3-pro, Eric Provencher, the creator of RepoPrompt, and he's building RepoPrompt. Folks, two main things from OpenAI this week and one smaller things. One, OpenAI drops the price of o3, their premium reasoning model, as a model, not as an ensemble of models, by almost 90%. This is absolutely crazy. OpenAI drops the price of OpenAI o3 to $8 for million tokens in output and just $2 on input. It's ridiculous. The price dropped from April 25, 4-ish months ago. They dropped it by from $40 in output to $8 in output. This is actually ridiculous. Many people that I've talked to love o3, love the evaluations the o3 gives them, the code that it runs, the planning abilities, like all these things, and they're not were against using this because of the price, and now the price drops by 80%. I remember when we did this show before, and we got excited, and Wolfram, you will remember this as well, when OpenAI dropped the price of, I think it was for 80% after a year, and we're like, oh my god, it just takes a year. Now it takes 3 months, and they dropped the price by a significant amount.
And I think they doubled the amount you can use on the normal plus tier.
Yep. They also improved the quotas as well. Seems like someone's got a shipment from Jensen. That's how it seems like. Someone finally got that shipment they've been waiting for, and finally they were able to release.
They're sourcing compute from Google.
Interesting. So yeah, definitely some compute got unlocked. Maybe people stopped giblifying everything. Also, maybe contributed. Maybe folks switched to VO from Sora. There's a lot of stuff that OpenAI kind of juggles. Would love to hear from you because o3 is dope.
It's great. It's one of my favorite models. I'm usually using o3 and Gemini 2.5 and now Opus as well. I'm always using the big ones when it is a difficult question for testing and to get the best answer from all of them. But yeah, it is expensive, and the rate limit, I hit it before, so I'm super happy that the rate limit has been raised. And when you're using it for coding, I think it's not the particular niche for OpenAI. But for the agentic stuff is amazing. If you have o3, it helped me repair my AI workstation by taking even parts of the manual, zooming into the mainboard pictures and highlighting which thing is where. So that was amazing. And yeah, more access is always better. It's top tier from OpenAI, and having it is great. And you can use the o3-pro on the API as well.
I think o3-pro,
this more intelligence available for everyone.
100%. Eric, you're about to chime in as well. Just before, maybe give us a word on who you are and what RepoPrompt is. I think people need to know the context to be able to appreciate your expertise in this.
My name is Eric. I've been building RepoPrompt AI coding tool for the last year or so. It's grown a lot over the time, and I think the big thing that I've built around this and the way I think about coding with AI, it's a little different than most other folks, because all the rage now is around agents and just letting agents rip on your code base, which is great. But I'm a staff engineer. I code a lot more deliberately with AI. And so I built a tool that suits my own needs, which is around helping developers provide the right context and exactly the context required to solve a specific problem, and then having a model one shot an answer for that. I built this tool RepoPrompt that helps provide that context, so helps developers gather the context, and there's some tools to automate that. There's code mapping and all that stuff, and then applying edits in a really cost efficient way as well. Using o3 is really wonderful with it. I code with it all day with o3. It's wonderful models. That's my background there with this.
What do we think about the price drop?
Oh, it's fantastic. Like I'm able to, so before I was using it quite a lot, and in RepoPrompt it's very efficient, like in the chat. It's just very, very cost effective and just really a brilliant model to work with. It solves really tough problems very precisely too. A lot of models will over output lots and lots of code and patch things all around. But with this, it goes in and surgically finds the right fixes, and it does a great job at that.
Yep. I really enjoy using O3 in the UI itself. I think one of the biggest things in O3 specifically, and I don't think, Eric, that that's made it to the API yet. They promised it will, but it didn't. O3 uses tools as part of its thinking. Like literally as it comes up with the answer during the chain of thought, O3 uses tools like image tools, for example. If you, I don't know, I talked about this previously on the pod. I took a screenshot, like I just took a picture of puzzle pieces and asked it to go find, and you can see O3 is like zooming in on images, and it's super cool, super sci-fi. Like the thing like knows and uses tools and uses web search doing thinking. I believe that Gemini folks last week told me also that Gemini does this. I think this like significantly improves it. I don't know if they already landed this in API, but O3 is really, really good for like those like deeper tasks as well. And I like really applaud them. Any comments, any other folks? Anybody wants to add on top of O3 stuff? And if not, I think we need to talk about the biggest thing. So O3 was given to us at a very, very cheap discount, like very significantly. Later on the show, I will tell you about my guest talk at Hamel Hussein's Evals workshop with Shreya Shankar. I did a talk about the large reasoning models as LLM judges. Just so you know how fast everything moves, I had a slide there that says, hey, you should not use large reasoning models if you don't have a big budget because they're still expensive. The day before I was about to talk about this, O3 price drops, I think it was the same day, drops by 80%. So I had to change my slides on the fly. I was like, actually, yesterday this was true. Today is no longer true. O3 now costs like Sonnet. I believe it's Sonnet price, right? Like
it's cheaper on it, actually. It's the price of 4.1.
It's absolutely crazy. So I had to change the slides like on the fly and tell people, hey, you can actually use this now. The downside still is speed. 3 is slower because it's reasoning and thinking. O3 doesn't stream reasoning tokens as well, so you don't know what it's thinking. So you're gonna have to wait. That's the downside. Folks, the biggest news of this week in AI is OpenAI launches o3-pro. We've been waiting for this since they announced O3 and O4 Mini. They released O4 Mini and O3 together, and they announced that like Pro version will come soon, and it came. And my God, this I know it's become really hard to differentiate kind of the quality. O1 Pro was already very, very good. They said it's more than just scaling reasoning. I remember with somebody from OpenAI, they said that O3 Pro, O1 Pro back then, it's not just this model with a lot of reasoning. As for O3, for example, the one that we just talked about, via API, you can decide on reasoning effort, high, medium, or low. You can basically tell OpenAI how long you're willing to wait or for how much you want the model to reason. So O3 Pro is not just that; it just doesn't scale. What is it? We don't know. What we do know, though, is a lot of human preferences on top of O3 is showing up. In all queries, 64% of folks prefer O3 Pro in all queries. In scientific analysis, 64%. Personal writing, 66%. Eric, I believe that I found out about RepoPrompt, the tool that you're building, specifically when O1 Pro was released. O1 Pro was not available via API, and folks wanted that intelligence on their code base. And I believe that this is how I found about RepoPrompt. So this is why I tapped on you and said, hey, come to talk to us about O3 Pro. I know you're a big believer in O1 Pro. Tell us, man. Tell us everything that you want to tell us about this model. I know you have a lot.
Yeah, first of all, I think the thing that differentiates it from O3 is that it's a best of 10. You've had researchers at OpenAI who have said, try O3 a bunch of times and look at the differences in the output. There's a lot of variance. And O3 Pro kind of consolidates this and adds consistency, output a lot longer responses with high reliability and consistency. And that's the big thing that you get out of these pro models. If you were to use O1 back in the day in O1 Pro, you could get much longer answers, much higher quality responses, and you could trust the output a lot more. And I think that's back with O3 Pro. So you get the intelligence of O3, but it's a lot more focused and refined, and you get responses to much tougher problems too. Often you'd have to really prompt it a lot and evaluate the differences, and there's something special about the pro side of it. I was actually lucky enough to try it early, starting last week. So I was playing with it over the weekend. I had some time to give it some tough problems, and it's exactly what I observed through normally is able to take these really tough problems, output much longer responses. So in the context of coding, it's able to give me, much bigger refactors, much tougher kind of bug diagnosis. It's able to handle a lot more context and consider all the parts of it. You'll have big models that will say 1 million tokens, but how much of that is actually being considered properly in the response? And that's something that O3 Pro really shines at. It's been a lot of fun to work with it.
Yeah. The thing that gets highlighted all the time, these significant jumps in best of 10. The thing that I remember from AI News from Swix, he mentioned this like 10 O3s in a trench code, basically. And they choose like multiple the tracers, and this is why maybe it runs for longer. They highlight people tests on this versus evals. Like they do evals as well, but they specifically do like comparisons between people, maybe blind comparisons, like Ella Marina style as well. Evaluations from this, O3 Pro gets 93% at competition math for AI Meet 2024. I want to say 93 is state of the art. I don't know exactly, but it feels to me like, as far as I remember, 93 is state of the art. Folks, please correct me if I'm wrong, if other models got more. O3 Pro also answers GPQA Diamond at 84%, which is insane. We keep talking about GPQA Diamond as like one of the harder. 84% also is absolutely insane. And competition code, O3 Pro is coming close to 3,000 ELO score. I believe when they launched O3, they said that it's like 175 on competition code compared. So this keeps climbing. Absolutely insane. Let's talk about the fact that it's also available via API. O1 Pro, when it was released, Eric had to go and build a whole app for this to be able to copy and use this large context. This time they launched it together with the API. And I think you could technically use this in different like cursors and different things, including O3. I think you have a chat built in as well, right? It's not only copy paste anymore.
So the problem, I think a model like this as an agent, it's going to be really slow. You're going to have to wait a long time. Agents are already slow ways to work. They consider context and it's just very iterative. I don't find this is the best form factor of a model for an agent.
No.
But yeah, if you're in RepoPrompt, I set it up with the chat and you can go ahead and select your context and chat and have it solve problems directly for you in one shot. And I find it's actually like considerably faster over API than in the web UI. Like I feel like in the web UI, you're getting like minimum 10 minutes. Whereas on the API, like I'm getting responses in 2 minutes.
One thing that they mentioned on the API is that they suggest running this in background mode. You just pass background true, and basically they don't disconnect, and you can go and check like async background mode as well. The most important thing for me from this model, because Google promised us DeepSync at some point, Google will probably release DeepSync as well. It seems like companies are leaning into this. Will give best out of n plus a lot of reasoning for a task. This specific model in the UI, not the API, plugs into all the tools that O3 also has. So it has your memory stuff, like it knows all your chats, and it has the search, and it has the image capability. O3 has all the tools that they have is also like available for O3 Pro, which is super cool.
Yeah, I was going to say, tying back to AI Engineer, the artificial intelligence like talk showing all the benchmarks across state-of-the-art models, and obviously this was not out yet, also had this metric which I like, the yappiness of the model. Right? So I think it would be interesting to have a comparison like for correctness or accuracy versus length, because the incentives for all these companies to give you as many tokens as possible. But ideally, you don't want it to be yappy. So that would be an interesting metric to add to evaluations. The other comment I had, I know the ARC Institute and the ARC Prize folks are putting out a new benchmark in July where they have these puzzles and complicated games. So it would be very interesting to see how it performs on that. And we'd love to see more efforts of multimodal evaluations that are not available on the web.
100%. Yeah, because it's getting just harder and harder to evaluate them on straight like intelligent tasks, right? Like we need more tools. I would love to see comparison with tool use, with like advanced tool use. Thanks for bringing up artificial analysis. I went and checked, and they've updated their intelligent index. O3-pro is now taking the absolute lead, folks. So we have a new king in town. Very interesting, because last week we interviewed Jack Rain and Logan Kilpatrick, which is super cool, straight from AI engineer floor. They basically launched the best Gemini 2.5 on stage. It was really funny to talk to them about this, because the best model before this was also Gemini 2.5. So they're kind of like competed against themselves for a few weeks, and now we see O3-pro just eking out from Gemini 2.5, at least on artificial analysis.
There is a new Gemini in LM Arena, and we already know what it means.
Yeah, we had this a while ago, where they just competed on LM Arena for a while. Any other comments on O3-pro? I want to hear from other folks who play with this, who want to like give us a chime in. General vibe from everyone that I followed, including like Tywell Cohen, like a bunch of other folks, is great. Latent Space, shout out to Swix and Latent Space. They have Ben Heidluck, I believe is his last name, is a high taste tester, and he posted like a whole thing. He also had access early, and he basically showed other users. If you just chat with this model, it's kind of like the same, but if you provide it with a lot of context, it gives you exactly what you need. That's the summary. If you are interested in diving deeper, he also got early access to O3-pro.
It looks like you have a pretty good solution to solving world hunger. It's just one thing about the all models is I feel like they're just optimized really well to just feel nice. But then when you try to take action on what they say, you start noticing that quite a bit more of it was made up than it seemed at first. So while they are good, I don't really like them for work stuff myself. Most of what I'm doing is code anyway, so I'm very opinionated.
In ChatGPT though, where are you using O3 to have that opinion?
Not from the API.
Since O3 launched, they added all these tools. There's the memory, there's all kinds of things. And I find that in ChatGPT, it really distracts the model, what you're getting out of the model. They added all the scaffolding, and it's great if you want to use the tools, but if you don't, it's very much distracting to the model. I really recommend just putting it in the chat, like in a raw chat interface with just the API, and trying again, because you'll see the results are quite different and you get a lot more reliability.
Can you give examples of use cases that you saw?
Yeah.
All right, folks.
Huge fan of O1, and now huge fan of O3. Everyone was sleeping on O1. I've been using it ever since till now, and now I'm using O3.
We will see more models that like from other companies compete with this. As I said, Google hinted at Google Deep Think, I believe, which is basically, I think, their attempt at something like this. I will say, like, O3-pro barely ekes out Gemini 2.5 on the artificial analysis stuff. So it's going to be very interesting, Google's response to this. I think the next thing we should talk about is Meta's ScaleAI stuff. Steph, I know you know about ScaleAI as well. Would you like to tell people like what this is? Like many people who listen to us, for them, scale is like an obscure thing. I know we chatted with you about companies getting human data. Would love to hear from you a little bit about this to help folks understand, and then we can talk about like the move that Meta did.
Sure, let's see what I can share.
The rules.
Yeah, Scale is like the #1 evaluation platform that all the big tech companies are using, including Google. Like when I was in DeepMind and Gemini, we use them, right? So they coordinate vast teams of vendors to create quick evals data on the fly for a specific use case. So they are like the go-to for all the big tech companies in terms of evaluation, but also have large contracts with the government. So that's the TLDR.
Every big company, literally, like I went and tried to see if I can actually like cite everyone. OpenAI uses them famously. Robotic uses them. Google, like you just said, and Meta also uses them. They're very important to many companies because they release new models, they need to test them. Some of that human preference testing that I just showed you before is likely ScaleAI. Like the thing that I just showed from O3, likely at least some of it is like ScaleAI based, right? So like very important company. They do billions of dollars in contracts with governments, etc., who recently released open source models that went like womp womp womp, which is sad because we love Llama and we love talking about Llama. We've been covering Llama since the beginning, and Llama 4 kind of was like a whole too many cooks in the kitchen type situation apparently from Meta. In the beginning of the year, there was a whole thing about Meta execs getting paid. You guys remember this? Every exec is getting paid like the price of DeepSeek R1. Here comes Zach after all of this and says, hey, basically what we say here on the pod, do not bet against Zach. They have a lot of money to spend on this, and in full founder mode, full control of Meta, he can just do whatever he wants, like spending $14 billion on 49% of ScaleAI, and basically a non-controlling stake, probably to just like skirt regulation, places Alex Wang, the probably fastest self-made billionaire in the world, Alex Wang, the CEO of Scale, as the head of the new superintelligence team. Superintelligence team, folks, superintelligence is now the word. Nobody cares about AGI anymore. It's all about superintelligence. We have SSI Inc. from Ilya. At some point, maybe they were going to tell us something. Elon is working on superintelligence with XAI. And now Sam Altman posted a blog post yesterday, also said, OpenAI's mission is not superintelligence, of course, as though we don't remember it was AGI a day ago. And Meta is now building a superintelligence team. Alex Wang, thank you, is 28. This is insane. Dude is 28, and now he's the head of the superintelligence team. Folks reported, like Axios and other folks, that they are absolutely going ham on the salaries and offerings for some of the researchers. Basically, Zach went straight to the source, and it's going to be very interesting how these companies, which are trying to bring all of this effort in-house, how they will react after this news. So we should talk about multiple things, folks. I would love comments from the team here. First of all, ScaleAI importance, Alex Wang's rise into the top levels of Meta, basically in AI, but also superintelligence pivot and engineers' salaries and hires. Feel free to jump in as you want to. Wolfgang, go ahead.
Zach doesn't play half-baked games or something. If he wants something, he goes all in, like he's doing with VR and now with AI. And the Llama 4 release, yeah, it fizzled out a bit and hasn't made big splashes. So maybe that is a way to get back on track. I hope so, because the local AI, I hope they don't give up on that. Super intelligence is good, but we also need our own local AI, I think. That is very important in the future. They kickstarted the scene in a way, and I hope they keep doing that. More data can only lead to better, or better data leads to better models.
Yep. Wolfgang, you also had a comment in our chat that says researchers are the new rock stars, and
AI researchers, at least.
AI researchers, and I believe maybe you meant it literally, because it's reported that Zach is offering some researchers 7 to 9 figure salaries or compensation packages. 9 figures for folks who don't do quite the math like me. I had to go and check. It's like above $10 million in compensation. It's between 10 and 100, I think, is 9 figures, right?
7 figures is 1 to 10, 8 figures is 10 to 100, and 9 figures is 100 or more.
You're saying that Zach is offering folks above $100 million in compensation?
No,
I don't think the article said 9 figures.
That's what it said, 7 to 9.
Oh, okay.
Regardless of this, it seems that when Zach
Still a
is
lot.
spending $65 billion on AI infrastructure in the next year, you won't be able to use this infrastructure without some of these researchers. There's also reports that many folks at Meta Llama kind of left, like 8 out of 10 folks left after kind of the fizzled stuff. Meta already has 2 AI teams, right? There's like Meta Fair and there's Meta AI, and Jan LeCun is somewhere in there doing interesting things. And now there's like a new team that apparently per records are going to sit by Zach. Yeah, I think you literally had a tweet about this, right? Like the new team in AI is like just cooking superintelligence with Zach.
I had a quick comment on this. I think the graph is like very exponential in terms of compensations for the AI engineers, rock stars. But there's also this interesting phenomenon that happens that your top like AI engineers and AI researchers are like the main IP, right? And that these people actually switch companies. And there were discussions, Michael Nielsen shared this on Twitter, and I agree. Like when you go to Silicon Valley SF like parties, you meet people who I was at DeepMind and now I'm with OpenAI and then Anthropic. And there's a little bit of groupthink because one question was, why don't we have fundamentally new architectures and like very different directions? And part of that, in my opinion, is because like you have this community of people migrating between the big companies. And I think this insane compensation packages, oftentimes are also because people come with their own companies, and we're seeing unprecedented deals like Mustafa Ali, who came to Microsoft, came with his company. Then Noah from Character AI, who came back to DeepMind, came with his company. So we're seeing these deals that we've never seen before. You're not hiring a person, you're hiring a person and bringing their company, which is an independent company. And I think in particular in this day and age where for young people in junior roles, unemployment is like all times high. Like people in CS are super depressed. Like people who are just finishing their degrees because it's very hard to find internships, very hard to find jobs. To see like this 8-figure salary creates like this very extreme dichotomy.
I will say there's a few more aspects to this that I really wanted to touch super quick on the show. Alex Wang is also an extreme China hawk. If you listen to Alex Wang, he testifies in Congress. We must win. This is a war, and we absolutely must win. I haven't seen, as far like I listened to Zach on Lex Friedman and with Joe Rogan, etc. Zach is definitely, hey, America first, let's do like open source in America, etc. He definitely, but I haven't seen this line from him. If you listen to some of Alex Wang's, like he is extreme in this. He's like way out there.
He's the most extreme in this.
And now this means a lot for geopolitics because Meta has above 3-4 billion people using Meta products around the world, at least like 2. It's very interesting how that super intelligence labs is going to get shaped, including some other researchers. Steph, to your comment before, Swix famously called this last week on the show execu-hires. So there's like equi-hire when you buy a company only for the talent. Now there's like a whole crop of regulatory skirting execu-hires, like Noam Shazir. Famously, Character AI got bought out. Noam got brought back to DeepMind. Recent one was Johnny Ive for $6.5 billion with IO and I forgot with Comma or with Love, something like this. His company that he created,
something like that.
With Love, yeah. And now we have essentially we have ScaleAI and Alex Wang for a lot more money, $14 billion plus ScaleAI. ScaleAI is a business. ScaleAI is like great business. Maybe great for Meta to have, but I don't remember Meta buying like parts of businesses. Meta bought Instagram, Meta bought WhatsApp, Meta bought like all of these companies, just like literally absorb them. Here's we're just gonna have a non-controlling stake. Very, very interesting, big news from the world. LDJ, go ahead.
Yeah, so for some background, Alexander Wang, his parents are from Taiwan, so I think it's even more so meaningful to him to angle his business in this way, because I think a lot of people, at least in first world countries, they don't realize there's not really much of a fear of this land being invaded. Nobody really thinks about, oh, what if our enemy invades the US? I think it's not often in people's mind, but when you live in some place, potentially Taiwan, it's actually a reality of, okay, this is an actual potential threat in your lifetime that this thing might happen.
Parents are from Taiwan, but also very strong about we must win this and this is a war. Really interesting to go and listen to folks. Alex Wang. I'll say it's top of mind for many folks. Many folks are really concerned about like general AI. We're here to give like the positive outlook, always been and always will be, but we also mustn't like ignore the realities. Like a lot of the stuff that gets decided because of some of these things. I thought it relevant because a very strong opinionated person about this that's openly talking to governments is now taking a position of control in one of the biggest labs in one of the highest leverage positions, just like sitting at the desk across Zuck and kind of deciding how this team is going to go. And again, to mention Jack Ray, who used to work with Noam on the thinking. At our conversation with Jack from last week is super interesting. It was really great to hear directly from him. We talked about personalization. The dude there's a reason why like he was tapping on some other folks. So definitely go and listen to that conversation. Speaking of, we had this conversation during the AI engineer kind of coverage that we had. And I wanted to pause here for a brief moment and basically talk about the engineer as well. Steph, you're here. You were there as well. You had a talk. I had a talk about MCP observability. Yam was doing the live correspondence thing, running around the floor when Wi-Fi allowed. It's really fun. Folks who are only listening to our show, we posted a live stream a day before the ThursdAI last week, and the Wi-Fi was a little bit better. Yam talked to, I think, let's see who you talked to. You talked to Ahmad from Langbase. You found
the weights and biases
folks, with the dog that we had there, and also you talked with Itamar from Kodo, who's also a friend of the pod and been here and talked about agents, and then you found Daniel Hahn from Onslaught. This was like just Yam walking around the show. The AI engineer, folks, is like we say, toppest AI conference in the world. Everybody knows Swix knows everyone, and so basically this was just absolutely mind blowing. To me, absolutely. I talked about this last week. I landed home. I'm still processing of just how many of my mutuals on X, how many top researchers, how many AI builders, how many great people I get a chance to meet. Steph, would love to hear your experience as well. And then let's maybe talk about like, what you talked about on stage as well, because I think it's super cool.
Sure, I loved it. It was huge. I think it was like 4,000 people this year. And I think both of us went to all the editions from the beginning to see the conference going from 300 people to 4,000 people in 3 years. Like, it's just mind blowing. Similar to you, my experience at AI engineering is like going home. No matter where I walk, I run into super passionate and interesting people and all these conversations that it's hard to eat and stop. It was really nice. Some of the highlights for me, I really liked Sean Grove talk, which was actually the last keynote talk,
Yeah.
where he talked about the importance of specification and how everything is a specification now. And it's so much about the clarity of our thinking, which gets crystallized in the text we write. And if we think about the prompts and meta prompts and systems instructions as a specification and apply an analysis on, is each word clearly communicating the intent, and how are we keeping track of our prompts and diffing them or reaching agreement and alignment within our teams on those prompts. And I thought that was super interesting. And I've read 4 or 5 write-ups about AI engineering. They were all referencing it. Yeah. I also like that Greg Brockman, first of all, that he showed up, which is like great validation for the AI engineering movement, but also that he recognized when he was talking to Swix that we need new architectures, that transformers is not the end game. That was like my main takeaway from that conversation. And of course, Simon with his pelicans, like, capture people's imagination. And it made me reflect also on, because we were talking earlier about like, why is it that we need like a pelican riding a bicycle as one of our measures of intelligence of these models? Because they're moving so fast and like they're changing. It's just hard to figure out like, how do we test them in a highly visible way that we could compare across the board. Of course, the pelican riding a bicycle is a goofy thing, but at the same time, it does speak to almost like our limitations as humans to try to make sense of these models and how they work. It was great to see this year their tracks on generative media, robotics. I was in the robotics track. There were folks like Steve Ruiz from TLDR and Christophe Chenon, ScaleAI. So like a lot more into the creative coding, robots, science. AI engineering is expanding beyond coding and digital applications, which is fun. That brings me to my talk. I built a real-time AI co-scientist and demoed it on stage. So I had to bring robots and microscopes. And can I present? Can I actually share the screen?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so
just be very descriptive because we have people just listening.
This is what the system looks like. It's called LabMind. You can connect as many cameras as you want to it. Right now, I'm showing screenshot it's showing crystal growth that I did in my apartment in Tokyo. So I have a macro view coming from the microscope and an overall view of the experiment. But then I also have sensors that are connected in real time to my platform that are monitoring the temperature, the humidity of my experiment. And I can graph the data in real time and also analyze the camera feed in real time. So given I can do any experiment, in this case, I'm showing the crystal growth, I have a research assistant, a co-scientist, where I can ask questions, and that co-scientist has access to all the data from the sensors. So when I'm asking, are my experiment condition nominal, they're going to be like, oh, for crystal growth, conditions are within normal bounds, or you need to increase the humidity or temperature. But get this, it gets better. Like, it can also change those conditions for you. There's robotic arms and robotic cameras that in real time can actually go and track specific objects or control like parts of your experiments or increase the temperature or change the conditions. And the part that is very useful, like, science is slow, right? So I had these experiments both on fermentation and crystal growth. I had to do stuff that it's safe to do at home. I let it run for hours, and the platform allows me to record and then analyze the recording of that data. Here you can see like the recording sped up from the microscope and how the conditions are changing, like the humidity is going higher. But then I can analyze all of that data and see that my crystal growth is actually not gradual, that it happens in bursts. And this confirms what we knew from literature on crystal growth. But I've done it with this system. It's all React with hooks for the sensors, for the cameras. You can talk to it, it talks back. Build it in 2 weeks. The hardware is all open source. and the whole setup cost less than $400. I was very inspired by the work from Google on co-scientist and Sakana, but none of these are real time. So I want to have support for researchers when they are in the lab to come up with new hypotheses or be able to parallelize their work or create simulations based on the physical experiments that they're doing. So that's what motivated this. I'll continue to work on it and test it with scientists.
So absolutely share. This is so dope. Steph, I have a question for you, and maybe Nissan is a follow-up as well. Seems interested. Were you doing these experiments at home, like crystal growth and the chemical stuff, and then came up with the Copilot, or did you do the other way, where like came up with Copilot?
No. What happened, I'll have to share my screen again for this, just very quickly. So what happened was that I knew I wanted to do a co-scientist. And what I did was that I basically pulled out all the hardware that I have. And I created like this recipes, right? I'm like, what are all my inputs? What are all the sensors I have? What are all the boards? What are all the cameras? And then it's, okay, what are the experiments that I can do with this? And that's what the process started. And then it's crystallization. That's something I can do in the span of a few days, and fermentation as well. But this was my lab in Tokyo, like basically, which I travel with, and I brought it to AI engineering and did live demos. I can't wait for the talk to be out.
No issues at the border, bringing out labs and chemicals into the United States?
They didn't check my bag, luckily. And these are like crystal growth is like basically an over-salinated solution, and then fermentation we do at home all the time, so it's like safe.
Yeah, Nissan, go ahead. You had a comment as well.
Yeah. I wanted to know. Okay, you built it with React and hooks. First of all, what's the repo? But I wonder, have you thought about, would there be a case for a voice control as an interface? Because there's so much back and forth on that. People try it and then they don't like it, but it seems like it's a good idea. I want to know, what do you think about that, like in a lab?
Thanks, Nistan. It's a great question. This has voice control, so you can speak to it and it can speak back. And I'm just using web speech for that, so nothing fancy because I want it to be fast. Voice is tricky. Latency can be tricky. The hardest thing I would say is the interruptions, how the model figures out when you're interrupting it. And I know there's active research happening on this, and Quindala from Daily and Brooke, a lot of amazing platform does have the option to have voice input and voice output. But personally, when I use it, like I don't use that a lot. So I don't know if that answers your questions.
One last question for you. There's also something about education summit. Do you want to speak to this a little bit?
So when I don't build co-scientists, I did a lot of research since 2015 until now on AI education and how we teach AI to people and kids, and build the first platform where kids can train their own models and use them in visual block programming languages, and then build a copilot for Scratch for kids, which is deployed in all the major languages. It's cognimatescopilot.com. And I spoke about it at AI Engineering in New York, and Ben, who's one of the co-organizers of AI Engineers, and Dad really loved the focus on kids. And we started talking about what would it mean to actually bring the education into the AI engineering community. And after several conversations, decided we're going to do an AI education summit as part of AI Engineer. We launched it this year. There's like already hundreds of people that sign up. It's going to happen sometimes in October, early November, probably like late October. Online, it's free. And if you go to aiengineer.io/education, you can sign up for it as well. I'll put a link in the chat.
That's awesome. We'll add this to the show notes as well. Thank you, Steph. Thank you so much for coming. It's been a while since you've been. It's great to have you back as well. Feel free to stay with us, folks. We're moving on because there's just a huge amount of news that we didn't get to. We have to talk about Apple and WWDC, because Apple's developer conference, WWDC, was this Monday. And a lot of us were looking forward to having some things. I know I was. We covered the WWDC last year. We covered everything that they've announced. They're like always announcing something that's coming or other. And then I jumped in on all the betas and I used the AI models. And we talked about Apple Intelligence on Device. They have Apple Foundation models, AFM they call them, on device models. They run in like super quick. And we Cheers, Steph. Thank you so much for coming. We will add all the links, folks. Definitely give Steph a follow and check out her projects as well. Wolfram, I remember I was talking about the tiny models, the amount of LoRa's they trained for these models for every specific thing. Apple did like a lot of research into this, including the private cloud stuff. So it runs on device and it hands off. All of these things. We got very excited. One of the things that got everybody excited, including putting out ads with Bella Ramsey that goes around and sneakily asks Siri to do some nefarious bullshit. They promised us personalized Siri. I remember getting excited about on-device stuff. Why do we love on-device? It's because we don't have to share it with clouds, and Apple's whole thing is privacy. So they literally talked about, hey, we're going to add context. You guys remember the context and the intents and everything? We'll get excited about this. They will have context from your chat with your mom from messages, and your calendar from calendar, and your pictures from everything. They promised us basically Siri level of ChatGPT intelligence, but with personalization. And here we are.
We even discussed that we would get rid of apps maybe and have a completely new way to interact and have AI interact with it. Thing.
Big, like we expected like a whole life-changing thing like Apple does with iPhone. And then this year, WWDC starts. At the start of it, Craig Federini literally lays out, hey, folks, we know you're waiting for Smarter Siri. She is not here. She is not coming. Do not expect her. But we have some exciting news for you. Literally, they opened with this because people know. Because Apple promised this WWDC, then they moved, they postponed the release from the actual release to early this year, March, and then they postponed it again. Famously, the AI/ML folks at Apple calling themselves aimless. It was really, really funny. And this was like reported. It's not something that we just know. Very disappointing WWDC for us waiting for Apple to catch up. Because instead of a personalized Siri, we got AI that can combine two emoji into one emoji, which I found like ridiculously funny.
Paper claiming that AI isn't real.
So yes,
you simply don't want AI. You are holding the AI wrong.
I will say it was very interesting that also So let's talk about this paper. Like just a day before WWDC drops a paper from Apple. They call this the illusion of thinking. I believe machine learning called it the illusion of thinking, understanding the strengths and limitations of reasoning models via the lens of problem complexity, which makes doomers like Gary and other folks just absolutely light up with excitement because, hey, everything we've been telling you about AI is correct. AI is hitting a wall. Reasoning is not the answer. That's what basically people like who covered this paper basically took from it. This paper basically talks about Apple researchers trying multiple games, Tower of Hanoi, checkers jumping, river crossing, where you have one character that can go on the boat, another can go on the boat, and then Blocks World. The basic kids games, essentially. They've used multiple reasoning models to try play at these games at higher complexity, and they noticed that at some points of complexity, these models collapse and stop with the reasoning. They call this imitation of reasoning. We had seen rebuttals on X. I think some of those rebuttals came from sources. Personally, I don't love there was like one main rebuttal from Scaling 01, Lisan Al-Gaib, whatever. I call that person the doom and gloom, a false prophet of AI stuff. That's why I didn't really rely on the source. You do have to trust sources, but basically some other folks also wrote rebuttals. I just want to highlight that I will add this on stage super quick. The folks engaged with the comments. So Parshin Shoji, she replied to a very viral tweet from Andres Kirch and like comment by comment replied with multiple stuff. I'll add this to show notes. We don't have to have time to talk about this, but I will say this is not some bullshit research team. Apple has done great research. The fact that they can productize and put AI in our hands is like a different beast. So moving on from this paper, that was
just one thing. Did they have the show and know they can't show a Siri or anything, so we need a paper to explain it? Or did they have the paper first and think, okay, that is why we are postponing Siri and all the other stuff? Or is it totally unrelated? Who knows?
There's a lot of groupthink in corporate and other circles that you'll hear with people where they just keep going back and forth about why it's really bad, it's really bad, it's really bad, it's really terrible, it doesn't work at all. And like, that's the summary of their conversations. I'm not being hyperbolic. Like it's actually okay. See, Siri's pretty dumb right now. This is why I think it's an attitude problem.
Did she just woke up while
Siri
you were talking about how Siri is not amazing, folks? This is like a viral moment right here.
Perfect. That literally just happened.
Siri is so dumb. Oh my god. After a decade, it's the same Siri. Siri is just waking up randomly, and now you can combine emojis. LDJ, go ahead.
Hey Siri,
I was going
forget
to
it.
mention,
LDJ,
like,
go ahead.
speaking on PhD level and all this, I have a Google Home right now. I'm still surprised. Google has Gemini and all these things, and they have these Google I/O events where they talk about all these products. But Google Home and all these devices in people's houses apparently don't have access to Gemini, because I even asked it basic questions yesterday about, hey, at what temperature should I cook pork chops? And it said, sorry, I can't understand you, or sorry, I don't understand the question. Yeah, that's really surprising to me. But also on the topic of Apple's paper, they've had previous, like 2 other papers over the past 12 months, also along similar lines of, oh, AIs are incapable of reasoning, they fail at these simple tests. But if you fast forward now with O3 and Gemini 2.5 Pro, they basically ace those tests now.
Yeah.
It's just like a constant moving goalpost of, oh, look, it fails in this particular test, which humans can't even really do that well. And that means it's not reasoning. I guess humans don't reason either. I'll look at their rebuttals, though, in the link you sent.
Take a look at the rebuttals. It's very interesting. All right, folks. One last thing. We will cover some of the stuff they did release. They did update the whole operating system to liquid glass. They did add live translation, which I really applaud them. I really do, folks. Live translation at the level of the OS that you can jump on the phone. So yeah, you could also do live translation with OpenAI's advanced voice mode now, which is also released last week. You can just ask it, hey, be my live translator, and we'll just go into translate mode. But live translation on device models with integration with the OS, that's super cool. So literally on calls, you can turn on live translation and talk with people who don't speak your language. That's really, really cool. They also updated the on-device models. They did upgrades to, like, they kept training them. I think the largest thing that we did get from AI is that they have given access directly to those SDKs to app developers. It looks like this. You need import foundational models. You integrate, like, you start a session and session await, respond, tell me a joke. Basically 3 lines of code to tap directly to those foundational models, which is super cool. It's easier than OpenAI. Literally, I think it's 3 lines of code and 5 lines of code with OpenAI. It's free for developers because it runs on device. It's private and mobile. Maybe it's less performant, but it's absolutely something we should highlight. Direct APIs that are allowing people to tune into those on-device models. On device and on cloud. So these models are hybrid. If you guys remember from last year, it will start with the 3 billion parameter small models with a bunch of LoRa's, and then we'll go up to their private cloud. No sign of true agentic AI in any place. Siri is literally dumb. All right, folks. I think we've talked enough about Apple. I think we're moving forward. I will say, Vision Pro, which I barely use anyway, like frankly, I barely use. The upgrades to Vision Pro are super cool. They have widgets now, and the widgets are in place, and definitely machine learning. They have walls occlusion now. So you place a widget on this wall, you leave the room, the widget stays in the room, you don't see it anymore. It's like mind-boggling at one. And the second one I posted on my timeline for those of you who are interested. The personas that they have, which also probably machine learning built into the running on device, they look incredible. They track everything, your eyes, your nose, crinkles, like whatever your face. The personas that they have, definitely worth trying it out if you haven't yet. They look insanely realistic. Like they move above the uncanny valley for me, for sure.
Interesting. It's interesting that Apple are leading in AI hardware for laptops. For example, there is no denying that MacBooks are the best laptops you can get if you want to run local AI. And you know, at the moment it's cutting edge and you need to be a power user and so on. But I think a couple of years down the line, you could actually run local models that are capable, widespread of the general public with Macs. Absolutely, it's going there. And at the same time, we don't get any AI from Apple, and we know that they are trying. We do have reports of Apple pushing extremely hard. So it's interesting to see how the same company can be so far ahead in hardware and not so far ahead in terms of Siri.
Way behind.
Why don't you guys use ChatGPT? Okay, we can go there, but I'm saying if you don't want to buy Anthropic, you can just use their services, for example.
They have an integration with ChatGPT, and that integration also got some improvements. So Image Playground, where you can generate images, for example, they use their own models. Now they use ChatGPT image generation via API as well. That's also new in iOS 26. So this week's buzz from Weights and Biases, the super quick. Welcome to this week's Buzz Corner and ThursdAI, that I, Alex Volkov, an AI evangelist with Weights and Biases, tell you all about the happenings and the updates that happen in the world of Weights and Biases. This week is officially the week before our premium conference in San Francisco called Fully Connected, and I'm really excited to just invite all of you, if you're listening to the show and you don't know what to do on July 18th and 19th, come to Fully Connected. I think it's going to be a great conference. I've chatted with Lucas Bewald and Sean Lewis, the co-founders of Weights and Biases, about this. We're going to have some updates about the CoreWeave acquisition that we just went through, and folks from CoreWeave is going to be there as well, so you look forward to listening to this. I know of some announcements product-wise they're going to launch. They're going to be super cool. I definitely want to make sure that you don't miss this. I will unfortunately not be able to attend myself physically. I will definitely be cheering from the sidelines. But if you are in San Francisco or the environment, Mountain View also counts. You can drive an hour to San Francisco. It's fine. Fullyconnected.com with the promo code WB_ThursdAI without the D. I wish we did this on purpose, because now it's like, if you're listening truly, you know the promo code. So fullyconnected.com with the promo code WB_ThursdAI. Definitely do not miss this. This is a great opportunity to interact with Weights and Biases folks building the tools that you use to build AI. There's going to be all kinds of folks there. Folks who are building models, fine-tuning models, folks who are building with Weave and doing evaluations. There's going to be, if you have any questions about Evals, our Weave folks, all going to be there. If you have any feedback for Weights and Biases, there's no better way to give feedback than to just come to the person who builds it and say, hey, here's some feedback. So definitely check this out. In addition to this, another thing that happened this week was my participation in Hamel, Hussein, and Shreya Shankar's Evals course. We had Hamel and Shreya here on the show to talk about the Evals course and some of the work that they did. I was very happy to go to Hamel's audience and say, hey, folks, I'm very interested in this topic. Let me tell you about how this topic ended. So I chatted about large reasoning models like Gemini Thinking, which is now Gemini built in, or o3, for example, whether or not the best choice for LLM is a judge. So if that is interesting to you, that's going to be also in the show notes. I really had a lot of fun. I talked about this initially at AI Engineer of New York. So AI Engineer New York happened in February. I talked about this. I prepared this talk. I did like a bunch of research, cited a bunch of research. I used deep research for it. Deep research is incredible for those type of topics. And then I basically delayed because I got other conferences, Imagine AI and AI Engineer. And then I looked at my slides a few days before I had to go to Hamel, and basically all of them were obsolete. Most of my slides were obsolete. Back then I was talking about maybe some reasoners will come. Now every lab has a reasoner model, open source models. There's a bunch of stuff. Everything was obsolete. It moved super fast, including, like I said before, o3 that is now 80% cheaper. So definitely worth checking out the most updated. Even if you heard me talk about this, the new talk is up to date with a bunch of research cited. I think this is it on this week's Buzz, folks. Oh, and I will say, Weave from Weights and Biases has been upgraded. And at the end of that talk, I gave some updates about Weave, including our own Eval APIs. We got to a point where Hamel says, wow, this is so cool. I will definitely keep using this. If you tried Weave before and it wasn't quite for you, or you didn't really see the benefit, try it now. There's a few updates in Weave that I would love to highlight, and I will do this next week after Fully Connected. This is the Quiz Box, folks. Let's move on to the multimedia section and the last 20 minutes of our show. We are moving towards, what should we choose? Vision, video. There's a few updates there. Voice and audio, AI art and diffusion, and AI tools. We have 20 minutes to cover a lot of stuff that happened. I think videos look super cool. We know that VO3 is popping up, like people are getting very excited. The super quick roundup of updates there is, and folks, feel free to chime in and jump into any section that you feel comment worthy. VO3 released VO3 Fast at Google Editor, where this is the most acceptable VO. They now have a fast version that is two times faster. Also supports audio, which is super cool, and is 80% cheaper on the tokens. It's super dope. VO3 Fast is a distilled version. Some did comparisons. Wolfram, you said something about Europe as well. VO3 Europe.
Yeah, we don't have the full or the fast version here officially by Google yet, but we can use the APIs like FAL or Replicate have it. The two I know of, and I've used it on FAL and spent over $100 just for a couple of videos. There's no comparison with the audio and how it reacts to the prompt. It's great. So I could make a full movie if I had a movie budget.
Yeah, it's become like a whole thing on social media, and I think there's an NBA ad now generated fully with VO, and it's crazy.
To be on the API, then I can use it even more. And the quality seems to be very good, what I have seen so far from Fast.
Yeah, it's really
not
good.
even worse.
Two other things super quick. Midjourney is about to launch their own video product. Midjourney was one of the top leading image generation models. They have their own unique style, even though based on other labs, they're not in the lead anymore, essentially, but they have a unique style, and their video will have a unique style as well. Midjourney is also getting sued. Let's definitely talk about this. Midjourney is the first company that is OpenAI gets sued for multiple. New York Times has a lawsuit against OpenAI and usage. The thing that they show there is OpenAI ChatGPT can verbatim spit out New York Times articles, let's say. And now Disney and Universal, folks from Hollywood, are suing Midjourney out of everyone who does. Google has imagined. OpenAI giblified the whole world. They chose to sue the smaller of the companies, Midjourney, for major Hollywood
because they have the
violations.
most case, because the case is solid. Look, if you got, I don't know what OpenAI trained on, but if you go to ChatGPT and ask for very deliberate screenshot of a movie that you know, for example, chances are it's going to refuse. It's going to say that it can't and so on. If you go on Midjourney and blatantly say, I want like a specific frame from a specific movie, chances are you're going to get it. And I think this is the reason why we see the lawsuit starting to fly towards Midjourney.
Yeah, though I will say this will probably take a long time, and I gotta wonder what the outcome will be. Stable Diffusion has been out for a while. It's open source. You can ask Flux for some Disney imagery. It'll give you stormtroopers. You can go to VO3. The way people sidestep in VO3 the fact that the character consistency is not fully there is by generating characters with no face. Stormtroopers are incredible characters with no face. So there's like a whole vlog of a stormtrooper behind the scenes, like cooking sausages, whatever. And that comes from Google, and that is
directly. But there is a difference between let's generate stormtroopers that are pop culture. Everyone knows who they are. Yeah, we know they're from Star Wars. Yeah, but a pop culture figure and so on, and generate a specific frame of a specific scene from a specific movie, and it works. It's more direct. You get what I'm saying? It's more direct, and in Midjourney it simply works, and it's that direct, and it simply works.
We'll see what happens with this lawsuit. Other updates in video. Topaz launches Astra, a creative 4K upscaler. I want to show this, folks. Like this looks dope. You can see the upscaling. You can see this video, and then yoink, and the upscaler like line just makes it look 4K.
We never spoke about Topaz, but it's a great product. I don't think we spoke about it on the podcast at all.
I don't believe we added this, no.
Yeah, but it's great. It's a great product, seriously.
So they released it in two modes, in precise mode to keep the footage as is, or the creative mode. Creative mode like literally just adds details, because they also have a generative model back there. And I find it super cool. They can adjust time frame, slow things down, or speed things up. Very impressive release. And many folks who are using video models, they definitely want to. So if you use VO via Flow, you can download the 720, or Google will do the upscaling for you. I think it's even free, like it's built in there, but not 4K and not this level of quality. So shout out to Astra, definitely worth checking out if you're into video generation. Let's talk about voice and audio, folks. I would like to chat with all of you about the new advanced voice mode from OpenAI that they released Friday, I believe. Many people who I know who talk to me about AI told me, hey, what's going on with OpenAI's voice? It's weird. OpenAI released a new cadence. They released a new cadence that they compare it to like more human, natural talking cadence, etc. And I will say, I do not love this cadence. I usually am very, very pro everything advanced voice mode. Obviously, a year ago, we got like super excited. Then we got it. Then we played with it. Now it stopped singing again. There's a whole back and forth with advanced voice mode. But now this new cadence is a little bit better at multilingual. I will say, like it speaks way better Russian for me. It speaks way better Hebrew. But the cadence is just annoying to me. I don't know what's going on and why people didn't give them this feedback. I actually replied to one of the OpenAI posts and said, hey, am I the only one for whom this cadence is like triggering the uncanny valley feeling? And people were like, no, that absolutely changed for us. We don't like talking to it anymore. And yet I went to Grok and I asked, hey, Grok, give it an analysis of like people's reaction. And most people are finding it positive. So I guess not everybody's cup of tea. Folks, besides it's sleepy, have you talked to the advanced voice model? What's your take?
One thing I have to say is that I'm not sure if it's rolling out all over the world at the same speed or rate, because when they said there's a new voice mode and it can sing, I tested it, it couldn't sing. Then later I tested it, it was singing.
Yeah, it became
they have different versions
with A/B testing and multiple things. It definitely refuses to sing right now, but it famously could actually sing. LDJ have a comment as well. I saw you go on mute.
Yeah, I tried it last night, and admittedly, last time I've used voice mode prior to then was a while ago, probably at least a month or two. So, the comparison might be a bit choppy, but it does seem a little bit more natural and closing the gap a little bit more with something like, Maya from Sesame, which I think is probably the overall best one so far, which is it's lacking in the intelligence. I think it's like only an 8B or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, actually, if I could put my phone with advanced voice mode right now if we want to talk to it for 30 seconds. All right. Hey, ChatGPT, have you heard of ThursdAI?
Famous. Let's look it up on the internet.
Classic one.
Why did it?
Because sometimes all those hidden layers just need a little bit of emotional unpacking.
Okay, thank you.
Deep learning on the inside was cool. LDJ, thank you for the live demo. The thing that it adds, it breathes. You can hear it go sometimes. They added laughing, natural laughing. It just laughed on its own. They added a bunch of stuff.
It was singing. It was singing and laughing at the same time, so that was cool.
Yeah. But something, I don't know, about the cadence. I basically, if anybody from OpenAI is listening, I would love it if you guys don't update all of the voices to the new model. Give me a new voice from the new model and give me the previous voice from the previous model. Let me switch and test it out and play with it. Like, it's weird to me because Wolfram, when I talk to you, you with your beautiful German accent, I know how you're going to sound next week because that's the person that you are. So the relationship we're building is built on the trust that you're going to be the same next week. These models don't need to keep changing under our feet all the time. Like, I'm building, like, my kids talk to this. Like, there's a rapport built in. Don't freaking switch the model under me. Give me an option to decide when you get an update.
If we're already talking to OpenAI, I think it pretty much goes same week, same thing. Just transparency, guys. That's all. Just transparency. That's it.
I love this.
I don't
need my AI to breathe. This is a great comment. All right, folks. Yeah. So definitely, if you didn't notice the releases, also sometimes transparency is very, very important. People don't even know these models get updated. Definitely worth knowing about this and playing around. Give us your feedback as well in comments. If you like it or you don't like it, give us your feedback. LDJ, go ahead.
On this topic of multimodal models and video models and stuff like that, there's also VJEPA 2 that was announced by Meta, which that's video perception and understanding and also robotic actions. It could see somebody going to grab an orange, for example, and it can put the label on this person's about to grab an orange before they actually grab it and be able to do body language understanding and different things like that. And what's interesting about this is a lot of people have heard Jan LeCun talk down to things like autoaggressive models and GPT models and things like that. JEPA, Joint Embedding Predictive Architecture, which Jan LeCun has, I think he's like pretty much the sole original author of this type of architecture. This is their latest model based on that, and it seems to have state-of-the-art results, at least for its parameter size, across a range of robotic and visual perception tasks.
This is crazy. Like, it predicts what's going to happen in the next frame. Wow. Thanks, Olivia, for bringing this over. A world model, exceptional motion understanding, as well as leading visual reasoning capabilities when combined with language modeling. Anticipate what's next.
I think there's a benchmark table if you scroll down a bit more.
Alrighty. So what are they even comparing to? Grasp, reach, grasp, and pick and place. Oh, previous best. Okay, cool. That's very interesting.
It's only at 1 billion parameters.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Thanks for bringing this up. Definitely, folks, I'll add this to show notes, VJEPA, if this is interesting to you and your robotic stuff. Let's talk about AI tools super quick, and then we'll conclude the show. I want to talk about two tools, to show you two tools. I know for a fact that folks are tuning into ThursdAI, not only for news, but also like how we use AI. So one of the things we shared this show already with Eric Provencher from RepoPrompt. RepoPrompt, if you go download this, is a super dope tool to just take your whole repository of code, dump it in a very specific and beautifully crafted prompt that includes some of the stuff that you need, and then go and shove it into O3. He has a chatbot in there, agent mode as well. We have breaking news, folks. Breaking news. That's awesome. I've been waiting for breaking news for a while. AI breaking news.
I have to go.
Coming at you only on ThursdAI. I think from you highlighted this out. You want to take this one?
Yeah, okay. So OpenAI, for now it's 20 minutes ago, or a bit more, they made an update for the projects feature where you can, for example, have your custom prompts and your stuff. And now it does a deep research support, has voice mode support, improved memory for reference past chats in projects. That is an interesting topic where I can say something about memory control at projects.
Yeah, we should talk
And
about this.
file upload and access the model selector on mobile, which is also nice to have feature parity. The memory is always an issue because it is great if the AI has access to relevant memories, but of course, if it has access to all the memories, that can confuse the AI. So if you have a project and it has memory and only references the chats inside the project, that could be a work context, the other could be a personal context, a health context, whatever. That would allow more and better memory management. So that is cool if you can do that.
Specifically, projects from OpenAI is a feature of ChatGPT where projects keep chats and files and custom instructions in one place. So you can have one project for ThursdAI, for example. You don't have to repeat the same system messages, etc. You can just dump them and all the chats will get this access. And with the ThursdAI example, if I want ChatGPT to help me with the TLDR section, I can upload previous versions of the newsletter and have them in the project. So every time, sorry, what's going on? Every time I open a new chat, all of that context will be there. Now we're getting support deep research within the project. So like including
voice
the
mode.
Voice mode is super cool because you can like scope down conversations, memory to reference past chats in projects.
That is big. That is
yeah.
my main feature from this, because the others, you were lacking the features. Now they are there. That's great.
Yeah.
But having
This
the memory,
encapsulated memory.
yeah, you have
So
memory
I
for
think-
all the chats. You have memory for the specific memories that are formulated, and now you have memory related to the projects.
Yeah, LDJ
The
got
control is always better in AI thing because the
Yeah, I was
context
gonna
is what
Sorry,
matters.
go on.
The
Yeah.
context, you can control the context. That is very important for quality.
Yeah, they say here improved memory to reference past chats and projects. So I guess it's insulated to the project, but it can, like usually when you're doing a regular chat now with the current advanced memory feature that most people have access to, it's able to reference any past chat that you've had. So I guess here it'll be isolated to the project, but the past chats within that project.
Folks, there's something we didn't discuss about OpenAI, and I like blew my mind that it's possible. Somebody asked me if it's possible. I was like, I think I remember something. AI has added connectors to most things in the world. Connectors like Gmail. Listen, you need to go. Cheers, man. I appreciate you. Folks, yeah, we're at exactly 2 hours, but I'll finish on this because I think it's huge.
Quickly, because I looked at the FAQ, how does memory work in projects? In addition to saved memories, these are the specific ones, ChatGPT can reference previous chats within a project to deliver more relevant focused responses. When you ask a question in a project, ChatGPT prioritizes the project chats and files. So it is specifically to focus it. And that
They're
is a
more
good
relevant.
more control. Yeah.
Yeah. Remember, we chatted with Jack Ray about this personalization. Like he asked, what else would you guys need to do? And I was like, hey, personalization is great. Like he has all my memories, whatever. And they specifically talked about this because of the temporal importance. So we as humans, we prioritize later stuff that just happened recently more over something that happened a while ago. In ChatGPT, if they don't understand this context or AI things, then it's going to be problematic because like you don't want it to, that's what Jack Ray and Logan told us basically. You don't want it to highlight something that, like you said 5 years ago in the chat to be more important like a recent thing. Definitely very interesting. Folks, before we go, I want to highlight this one thing. ChatGPT has access to context and you can go into settings and I want to show you. Go into connectors and these are disconnected because my admin disconnected them. So like on your personal one, you have Gmail. You can connect it to your Gmail. The connectors were released, I think, a couple of weeks ago, but here's why I'm getting excited. o3-pro have access to those tools. And with a connector to something like Gmail, you can now get ChatGPT to know so much more about you than it ever could from just your chats. So here's the thing for you to do. If you go to o3-pro, it has access to your Gmail, for example. You can just go and tell it, hey, I have my Gmail inbox since I was on the internet, right? Like all of my life basically is on those emails. And I asked it to do a deep dive report on me and my psyche and my progress as a professional and my moves across the world, different things. And it went and did a good job. It didn't do it doesn't it doesn't rag on those emails as much as it rags on your memories, right? So you need to pull it out so it goes and searches.
I think you can even.
So you can basically, what I'm saying is, via these connectors, transfer some of the knowledge that's hidden within your emails into the context of ChatGPT, so ChatGPT will know you better. Or you can say, hey, in the style of those emails, for example, that I received, or in the style of reports. One thing that just came up to me just now, I always reference previous ThursdAIs as, hey, here's how I like to do things. They are getting sent to me as emails. So basically, those connectors, dope. They connect to different things like Google Drive as well, and Box, and like different things. Not new, but we didn't cover them, and I think those are huge. Specifically, the personal context via email within the memories, I think it's huge.
More than that, it's just useful. It's just
Super
a useful tool. Absolutely. I want to take that ChatGPT, give it a folder, and have discussion over the folder, even professionally. There are so many use cases for that. It's extremely useful. It's a very positive thing, and it's great that it integrated into their product. I'm, by the way, huge OpenAI simp about product management. Their product is absolutely superb, absolutely phenomenal. Every single aspect of it. Oh, the app, the site, everything is just great.
The desktop app doesn't allow you to paste as much context as the web. So the web is actually better than the desktop app. So folks, next time you try paste something and the desktop says it's too much, go to the web app. Alrighty, folks, this is it. This is the show. We haven't covered like multiple other things, but I think we got like the most of it. We didn't get to Cartesia releasing Ink Whisper, but if you are into real-time voice AI, this is Whisper optimized for real-time chat and not for speed of transcription. Real-time chat has different requirements. You all know Quinn Kramer from our voice expert that comes, like the Ink Whisper integrates with Daily, which is and Pipecat, which is their open source as well. Crea, also friends of the pod from a long time ago. They really like Vic and Diego. Shout out to Vic and Diego, friends of mine who like helped me out before ThursdAI was like even a thing. They have an incredible creative tool called Crea, and they just released their own model called Crea 1. Crea 1, it's coming out, I think, next week. They gave me some early access. It's first generation. They claim it's the first image gen model targeting the persistent flaws of existing AI art. Soft textures, generic styles, and lack of compositional depth. So they have been working with multiple folks, and now they trained their own model. We're going to take a look at this probably next week because it's interesting. With this said, after 2 hours and 5 minutes, folks, thank you so much for joining ThursdAI. We have a little bit over 1,000 folks joining us all across the entities and digital platforms. I really appreciate your time here. I had multiple encounters at AI Engineer last week. Yam, you as well. For folks who listen to ThursdAI and tune in and come and give us a high five. Hey, we know your voice. We know who you are. Really appreciate you tuning in and giving us feedback and sending us comments and telling us, hey, Alex, your microphone's off when I'm talking to Logan Kilpatrick from Google. Thank you for that one person who saved at least half of that interview. God damn it. So I really, really appreciate the community here. We really try to give you the best roundup of news that's possible with some energy and excitement as well. If you missed any part of the show, ThursdAI is available as a newsletter and a podcast. It comes out on Thursday, no matter what. So you will get all of the links and the show notes that we talked about, including stuff from Stefania Druga, who joined us today, and Eric Provencher, the creator of RepoPrompt. You'll get all these links in the show notes as well as every of the news that we talked about, and there was a lot. So you'll get everything, so you don't miss it. ThursdAI is sponsored by Weights and Biases. Shout out to Weights and Biases. If you are building AI applications and you don't know what's happening in your agent on production, please use WNB Weave. With that, thank you so much, Jan Pelik. Thank you so much, Wolf from Raven Wolf. LDJ and Nistan was just here, and our 2 guests for this week, Eric Provencher and Stefania Druga, are friends of the pod. My name is Alex Volkov, and we'll see you here next week.